Well, good Sunday to you. I'm meteorologist Lindsay Monroe, and once again, we are gearing up for what's going to be another stormy day across central Indiana. So I want to get you updated on what is headed our direction and kind of the timeline of it all. We've been monitoring a storm complex moving through northern Illinois. Not a lot of severe weather involved with that, but certainly some very heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, and the potential we could see some areas of flooding. That's been pretty quiet around central Indiana so far today, but things are going to start to ramp up now that that next storm complex is headed in our direction. So here's the weather impact for today. Within some of those thunderstorms, we are looking at the potential of some damaging wind gusts. That would be 58+ mile per hour wind gusts, could cause some branches to come down, perhaps some isolated power outages. That's the primary threat when it comes to any severe storm risk today. But in addition, this is going to bring some very heavy rainfall. Couple rounds of heavy rain today and even into tomorrow. So over the next 48 hours, we're anticipating an additional perhaps 1 to 3 inches of rain across central Indiana and even some higher amounts within some of those heavier thunderstorms, which could lead to some areas of flash flooding. It has just been so wet around central Indiana. We have a very saturated ground, so that will quickly lead to some areas of flooding once some storms move into the area. And I really do believe that's going to be the primary concern today. Got this stalled out boundary that's draped across central Indiana. Storm complex kind of riding the northern extent of that from west to east. So this has sustained over the overnight and into the morning hours. So we will watch that rain move in. It's just a matter of timing and what is our atmosphere overhead going to be doing. Is it going to be enough to support severe storms? Storm Prediction Center is watching central and parts of southern Indiana, so from Lafayette down to Bloomington and even Louisville throughout Cincinnati. That's going to be that level 2 of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center for that risk of some scattered strong to severe storms possible today. Should storms reach severe limits, we are looking at that damaging wind threat as the primary threat for today. Secondary lower end threats also include some rotating storms. A very brief weak tornado possibly embedded within this storm complex. We could also get some of those isolated storm cells that do produce hail. So we'll be watching out for those lower end threats as well. Really think that that heavy rainfall and that flooding potential is going to be that main concern today. As we go through this afternoon, rain chance only going to elevate as showers and thunderstorms become more widespread this afternoon into this evening. So here's the latest timeline on all of this. Boundary again stalled just to our south. First round of some heavy rain again, it's already moving into northwestern Indiana. This is going to be that target zone between now and about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Scattered showers and thunderstorms becoming more widespread through the course of the day. So between 1 and 3 p.m., this line will continue to track to the south and overspread throughout the Indianapolis metro. Once that line moves through, we'll continue to see development further into the afternoon. And something that we've been watching, upper levels of the atmosphere, there's just a ton of moisture. So a lot of these storm cells, they're going to pull that moisture out of the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's going to create at times some very heavy rainfall events. So embedded within some of these thunderstorms, this is 6 o'clock this afternoon, by the way, that's what's going to lead to the potential of some flash flooding. That and the fact that these are going to be slower moving this afternoon, they'll sit basically over the same area for an extended period of time before moving out, and that also will contribute to that risk of flash flooding across the area. Now this takes us through 10 o'clock. Still potentially could see some embedded stronger storms, certainly some pockets of the very heavy rainfall through 10 p.m. And then the closer we get to midnight, 1 o'clock into the early morning hours on Monday, I believe that's when the severe potential is going to wind down. And with the outside chance of perhaps a lingering stray shower, we're going to see a lot more dry time. That will take us into the first part of the day on Monday. In addition to that, again, we talked about the heavy rainfall, that severe threat for today. We also have a flood watch that is set to go into effect this afternoon at 1 o'clock. This is going to run all the way through Monday evening, and it accounts for those multiple rounds of heavy rain that will be possible. So that includes all of central Indiana flood watch. This is your rainfall potential. Now, this is just an area-wide estimate. I still believe that we could pick up an additional 1 to 3 inches in some spots. And then, of course, embedded within some of those heavier thunderstorms, some of those more intense downpours, again, the slow movers as well, we could see even higher totals than 3 inches. So just keep that in mind as we've already got a saturated ground. This is going to be a multiple rounds of rain on top of that, leading to that flooding threat. So low-lying, flood-prone areas, something that I noticed kind of driving during a thunderstorm yesterday was the fact that if you're in a thunderstorm and you're in a construction zone, it's going to come down on some temporary lanes that maybe perhaps aren't built to flood, or I should say remove that water as a normal road would be. So a lot of that starts to pile up. Those kind of low-lying areas, sides of the roadways get flooded pretty quickly. So if you have travel plans today or tomorrow, keep that in mind. As we get you into Monday, I still believe tomorrow is going to be another unsettled day as this boundary still stalls out kind of right here in central Indiana. So let's walk you through your Monday timeline. This is going to take us into the early afternoon and the potential of some heavier downpours once again possible, although we are not anticipating severe storms on Monday, just that heavy rain threat. Here we go, 4:30, 5 o'clock, still for the evening rush hour. Could be dealing with some of this heavy rain. Going to take us on through Monday evening. Looks like most of this will wrap up as the sun starts to go down on Monday. And then as we get into Tuesday, we're going to start to change up this unsettled stormy pattern. We're then going to be primarily focused on the heat and the humidity as our pattern starts to change. And we've got this heat dome that will start to build to our southwest. So temperatures on Tuesday, in fact, Tuesday is probably going to be one of the better days in the extended forecast. We're back in the mid 80s. It's going to be a mainly dry day, and the humidity will start to build in, just not quite arriving in full force yet on Tuesday. This heat dome will then be that primary weather feature as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with the heat index likely going to climb into the triple digits, 100 to 110. And this pattern is going to be a little stagnant into the start of next weekend, meaning it's really not going to change for several days. We're going to be feeling these very humid days where we've got dew point temperatures that will be in the upper 70s, perhaps approaching 80. We consider anything over 70 for a dew point extremely muggy. And just a day that you don't want to spend that much time outside. That could potentially lead to those heat-related illnesses. So preparing for at least three days of intense heat, and just consider perhaps changing your outdoor plans if you have them Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Here's your forecast heat index as we go into the middle part of the week. So still pretty reasonable with the rain around. As we get into Tuesday, that's going to start to jump back up. And then we're looking at potentially as high as 108 for the Indianapolis Metro Wednesday and Thursday, even into Friday, when we'll introduce a little bit more cloud cover and slightly better storm chances with the heat of the afternoon, still potentially up near 105. I do see some relief as we get into next weekend and then a little farther into the future. So we're primarily focused on those few days. So as far as today goes, we'll continue to track some scattered storms, damaging wind threat, as well as that heavy rainfall that could lead to some areas of localized flooding. That's today. Scattered storms still possible for your Monday, 83. We're back to 85, a mainly dry day on Tuesday. Again, that's going to be that transitional day, taking us into a few more alert days this time for the heat. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're looking at highs in the low 90s. Feels like temperatures 100 to 110, depending on where you are in the state. And again, finding some relief from that as we start next weekend. We'll keep you posted on air and online, and we'll be here covering any severe storms should we see those warnings issued throughout the course of the day today. Be safe.